Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, your host. This is today's recruiting breakdown brought to you by Mark Saunders of Allstate Insurance. Hey, CJ, big recruiting weekend coming up for the Longhorns right now. You and I know that. You've got over 70 names expected to be in Austin this weekend. I think that's just absolutely incredible effort by the Texas coaches to get this many guys here at this point in time. But also, we've got a lot of portal action going on. Let's start with the portal situation as it is right now. And that is the fact that Texas has 4 commitments, the latest being Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver from Alabama. He joins with Andrew Makuba, a defensive back out of Clemson. He also joins Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of the University of Houston. And the 4th one is Trey Moore, the linebacker, defensive end, really a defensive end rush specialist out of UTSA. So far, the Longhorns have really killed it in the portal, in my opinion. CJ, now they've got more meat on the bone, so to speak. They're looking at not only Silas Bolden, the wide receiver from Oregon State, but also Kendrick Blackshire, the linebacker out of Alabama. They're waiting on Ben Urisic, a tight end out of Stanford that's down to Texas and Georgia. And then perhaps another tight end that might enter the portal, Amari Niblack out of Alabama. It appears to me that Steve Sarkisian is kind of just playing his cards as they happen. He did not push for CJ Daniels, for example, when he could have, and waited for someone like Isaiah Bond to enter the portal. It feels like they're doing exactly what they said they're going to be, very selective, very, very agile as well, adapting to whatever may happen once a situation like Kellen DeBoer going to Alabama, Nick Saban retiring, and now even the Arizona kids. Some of those guys might be in the portal too. What do you think of Sark's approach at this time?
Yeah, he's certainly not rushed anything when it comes to the portal. In fact, I've thought he's been very patient to the extent that it's benefited him and his staff when it comes to finding the right fit, the right type of player, and obviously the production and experience that comes with each of these guys that you just mentioned. We talked about instant impact out of the portal in years past. Obviously, we saw it with A.D. Mitchell specifically last year. Texas is doing just that again this year in terms of bridging the gap from a lot of talent leaving from the 2023 roster to bridging the gap to the youngsters that are now starting to file in and really starting to stockpile talent-wise behind the scenes in the younger ranks of the Texas roster right now. So Texas is doing a great job of ensuring that there will be a high, quality of talent on this roster, regardless of position, and they're doing it just now. You mentioned the CJ Daniels and Isaiah Bond kind of situation. Texas found out Nick Saban was retiring, said, hold on, let's see what happens here. And as a result, goes out and gets a 10-6, 10-5 kid in Isaiah Bond, who is projected to be one of the first wide receivers taken in the 2025 draft. So a tremendous job of being really flexible with the portal. And certainly whenever they find their guys, the Texas staff is wasting no time to going out, being aggressive, and getting them into the fold.
It's interesting that you're talking it that way, because I feel like Texas certainly trying to be impactful, right, and do things that way. Isaiah Bond, one of those guys. All right, before we get going into the junior day, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. That's Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders. He is the only insurance agent you need to help keep tabs on all of your stuff. Everything from your home, car, boat, to your motorcycle, RV, ATV. Call Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders' office today at 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? With more than 35 years of experience, you will be with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Give him a call, 512-218-8571. That's 512-218-8571. Thank you, Mark, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football and the recruiting breakdown. All right, let's go and talk about these players coming in this weekend because, man, it is a who's who in many ways of the 2025 recruiting class, not only around the state of Texas, but around the country. Let's start with quarterback. And actually, there's no one coming in at quarterback this year because Texas already has its quarterback for the 2025 class. That's KJ Lacey, who visited this past weekend and is now set to visit on January 27th with his high school teammate, Ryan Williams.
Yeah, he actually mentioned to me last weekend at the 7-on-7 tournament down there and Lockhart. He was, kind of sad he was missing on his junior day festivities, but that is 2 straight weekends to Austin right there. I guess 2 out of 3 to be able to sit with the staff, hang out, see the campus, enjoy time in Austin. Exactly what you want if you're Texas, getting him back to school, with a lot of schools starting to creep in and start encroaching on this commitment from KJ Lacey to Texas right now. Tremendous job by the staff to get him back on campus for a little bit more one-on-one sit-down time January 27th.
All right, good stuff. All right, now let's move on to the unofficial visitors for this weekend. 2025, guys, let's start with the running back group. Jordan Davison, a young man out of Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California, same high school as Spencer Shannon, the tight end, and Brandon Baker, the offensive lineman. Baker just signed with Texas. DeAndre Ridden, Tiger Ridden, out of DeSoto, 2-time state champ, had a whale of a state championship game 2 years ago. Wesley Yarbrough, out of Crosby. Ridden and Davison seem to be at or near the top of Tashard Choice's wish list.
Absolutely. Davison's been a name that's kind of floated around Texas circles for quite some time. Obviously, the Mater Dei to Texas pipeline is one that Texas fans are very familiar with, and Sarkisian's obviously no stranger to the Mater Dei facility and school program over there. They produce tremendous talent every year. Jordan Davison's in that conversation right now for being the top national running back in the entire country. And obviously, you talked about Tiger Ryden and what he's been able to do at DeSoto, who's been no stranger to developing talent as well. Ryden told me earlier in the year he was hoping to hear a little bit more from Texas. Clearly, getting him on campus, Texas is on his radar right now, and could be a big player moving forward, depending on how things go with Jordan Davison, as you mentioned.
You look at this next one. Let's go to the receivers group. It is a who's who list of guys from the state of Texas, but there's 2 guys not in here that we need to mention. DeCorian Moore out of Duncanville and Taz Williams out of Red Oak. Moore, we believe, headed to LSU this weekend, and Taz Williams headed to Georgia Tech. But let's look at some of these guys. There's a couple I want to ask you about because I think one of them has been underrated at this point, and that's Kelshawn Johnson out of Hitchcock.
Absolutely. Big time playmaker. You talk about what Texas is adding in the portal this year at receiver. Kelshawn Johnson certainly fits that mold. A guy that can change directions very quickly, has great burst and acceleration with the ball in his hands, and is a big time playmaker waiting to happen anytime the ball is headed in his direction. I'm a big fan of his, and I think you're right. He is in that underrated category right now. The state of Texas is loaded at receiver this year. He's a guy that needs a little bit more love. I think he is one that will certainly start floating up to the top when rankings and ratings start, updating later on during the cycle.
Got a couple more from the Dallas area: Emmanuel Choice, Carterius Brown, Ashton Ansley from the Houston area. He could be maybe grow into a tight end at some point. Tanook Hines, 2 kids from San Antonio as well, Jaden Perez and Jalen Cooper. Just an overall interesting group, as well as Ja'Cory Watson at Shadow Creek, teammate of Deuce Williams, the commitment for the Longhorns at linebacker. All right, let's look at the tight end group now. Your thoughts on this group: Nick Townsend, Bear Tinney, Keandre Johnson, Keoti Armstrong. Your thoughts on those guys?
Well, it's interesting if Texas is taking multiple more visits from the 2025 tight end spot, obviously having Amari Winston committed and in the class this year out of Georgia. Bear Tinney will be one to watch a little bit. He has ties to Michigan. He's moving to Utah, actually, for his senior season. So that'll be something to monitor his interest in the staying in the southern region as well, staying in the state of Texas. I'm actually looking at Keoti Armstrong out of Jasper. He was one that lit up the 7-on-7 circuit a year ago. Obviously, former teammates with Ty Anthony Smith down there at Jasper as well. So one to keep an eye on right there is Keoti Armstrong. I know that Steve Sarkisian is actually visiting his high school today on Tuesday afternoon. One to keep an eye on right there for the duration of the 2025 cycle as well.
All right, let's look at the offensive line. These are the big boys up front. Kyle Flood likes to call them big humans, of course. This is, frankly, as good a list as you're going to get, right? I mean, it is absolutely astounding. Just every part of the state. There are a couple guys that are going elsewhere, but not many. What do you make of this group of offensive linemen? Not a lot of out-of-state guys. There is one that I want to note, and that's John Mills out of San Francisco. He's somebody that Kyle Flood has kind of earmarked.
Yeah, really the only name from the in-state crop that surprised me as not being on this list is Michael Fasusi, who is headed to Missouri. Aside from that, you're getting the entire who's who of in-state offensive linemen for the 2025 class. I mean, you look at it, Byron Washington, Jordan Coleman, Lamont Rogers, big-time bodies on the offensive line. Tyler Thomas as well. It's a really impressive group. I think Jonte Newman is in that conversation to be someone that Texas fans should be more aware of in what's going on in his recruitment. I think Texas is a big-time player that might not be getting the love on the mainstream Twitter feeds or boards along the lines of that. So it's exactly what you want to see from Kyle Flood in this Texas offensive line, talking about maintaining talent and development on the offensive line. This is the group that will get that done for Texas in 2025.
CJ, let's turn our attention now to defense. Of course, there's some coaching situations going on right now that we need to mention, and that starts along the defensive front, right? Right now, Bo Davis took the job at LSU. That kind of threw a wrench in things, but they have several guys coming in this weekend. A couple guys to note: Zion Williams has been a priority almost from the get-go. Texas has really shown a lot of love to both Xavier Okponu and Floyd Guidry. Carmelo Brooks, Landon Rink, of course, his dad, Shane, played at Texas. He visited A&M last weekend. And then kind of a sleeper type, Chris Johnson out of Iowa Colony. What do you think the plans are at this point? Oh, and by the way, Brandon Brown, I would be remiss not to mention him, the commitment out of Eau Gallie, Florida, that is one of the nation's top defensive line prospects. What is your thought, CJ, on the approach Texas might take this weekend without a defensive line coach yet in tow?
It's going to have to be a team approach from Pete Kwiatkowski and Steve Sarkisian to ensure that these kids are seeing the vision at Texas despite not having a position coach yet. Tell them about the path and trajectory of the Texas football program. Obviously, we've seen the development of years past under Bo Davis. That's no longer the case right now, and there must be, I would say, a little bit more of a warm welcome for these guys to feel at home and feel like Texas is a place that they can play while continuing to see what happens down the road and trusting that Sarkisian makes that hire at the defensive line spot. Still, 6 very talented guys coming in, plus Brandon Brown, who's making, I believe, his first visit to campus since his commitment, obviously, 5 of which are from the state of Texas. So you talk about Texas really starting to make a dominant effort at controlling what happens inside the state of Texas. 6 of them from the in-state side of the state lines. That's really important. Obviously, Kevin Otis right down the road from Hattiesburg, Louisiana, another guy to keep a close eye on. But, I mean, you start talking about Floyd Guidry, Xavier Okponu, and Zion Williams. These are all guys that have been around Texas several times now. This is not their first time to campus. They've been frequent flyers down here. So it's a lot of familiarity, and obviously it will help bridge the gap before that defensive line coach hire is eventually made.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I think you meant to say.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah,
yes.
There you go. All right. Hey, at Edge, totally different group. Not as many in this group, but there's a couple guys they've been on for a long period of time. Lance Jackson, one of them from Texarkana, a couple of Texarkana guys that are coming in. We'll talk more about a young kid that Texas apparently and everybody really likes. Kamora Morgan, Chad Woodfork. What do you think here?
Yeah, no, this is a familiar group as well. Kamora Morgan was one that I got to see at Red Oak last spring when he was really growing into his junior season. And you see the physical tools, big hands. He's got a wide base, one that you can continue to mold and kind of grow into a dominant defensive lineman, but great length. I'm a big fan of his. And then Chad Woodfork out of Summer Creek. He was one that visited at the end of July this past summer. Basically gushed at being able to watch Kelvin Banks, who he grew up watching down there in Summer Creek. Obviously, he talked about his celebrity status and how impactful it was to watch him in action. I think Texas is very high on his list. And then obviously Texas fans should be familiar with the Jackson last name out of Pleasant Grove, getting the younger brother right there coming down for the visit. He's one that really started to develop and start growing into his body. Texas fans should be familiar with all 3 of them. a very strong in-state crop, despite only 3 visitors at the edge position this week.
I think, the state of Texas has not produced a lot of top-ranked linebackers, but boy, this list next looks like a who's who. Jonah Williams out of Galveston Ball. Bo Barnes is as good as it gets out of Skyline. Riley Pettijohn out of McKinney. Nasir Wyatt out of Mater Dei, one of the top guys on the West Coast. And then you have Deuce Williams, right, out of Shadow Creek, already committed to the Longhorns. By and large, one of the best crop of in-state linebackers in years for the state of Texas. You agree with that?
Without a doubt. And these are, aside from Anthony Williams, who's already in the fold, you're talking about 4 uncommitted guys who are probably all within the top 100 to top 120 in the national rankings. It's a very deep in-state linebacking group. And you toss in Nasir White as well from Mater Dei, who we've talked about the familiarity there with Texas and going out to California to that program. It's, a tremendous haul. Once again, Jonah Williams is in that conversation to being a top 10, top 15 player in the entire country. He wasn't sure if he was going to make it to campus. He has since, kind of reaffirmed that he is looking to make the trip to Austin this weekend. And then Elijah Bo Barnes and Riley Pettijohn, 2 guys from the DFW area who are in the conversation for 1A and 1B linebackers in the state as well, when you consider Jonah Williams and what he brings to the table. All along, a very impressive linebacking group. And you talk about the development and steps that Anthony Hill has taken and the path to the field that he was able to get, kind of fast-tracked. That should be very encouraging when you start recruiting the next generation of linebackers at Texas.
Just an astounding group. Jonah Williams, terrific. Riley Pettijohn, Bo Barnes, just an all stellar class, I think. All right, let's look at the DBs. And I think that what's interesting here is – the versatility of a lot of these guys. They can play corner, they can play safety, they can play nickel. Kobe Sellers was at Georgia this past weekend. Jaden Sanders out of Kilgore plays safety, can play corner. Jabari Antoine, same high school as Derek Williams, the safety at Texas that played so well this year. You look at the DB class and a couple of names that stand out to you and what Texas should maybe anticipate.
Jabari Antoine, first and foremost, is the name that Texas fans should be keeping a close eye on. I've mentioned that with a couple prospects. Jabari Antoine, having made, I believe this is now his 3rd visit to campus since the end of July, is something that is certainly noteworthy right now. Very highly touted prospect from Louisiana. Obviously, familiarity with Derek Williams and his recruitment and what that meant to Texas right now. That is something I'll be monitoring very closely. Jaden Sanders is actually an intriguing name to me in the sense that he's 6'2", very lengthy, and can play multiple positions in the secondary. We obviously have talked about how important versatility is in the defensive back room. That is something that I think the Texas staff is valuing a lot right now whenever they evaluate these prospects. It will be interesting to see what kind of impact Dwayne Aquina eventually has in the recruiting fold and evaluation side of things here. But one other name is Kobe Sellers out of Shadow Creek. He's one that Texas has been very heavily recruiting as well. He's been very interested in the Longhorns dating back to even so, last spring, about this time last spring as well. Oklahoma's in on him. Georgia's in on him. A very talented prospect. True corner guy, I might add, at that position as well. So really interesting to watch. And, this is, again, another position in which there is a lot of talent coming to campus and a lot of excitement in terms of the in-state crop for the 2025 cycle.
I got to mention this. 3 guys from the Fort Bend area. Texas in the last 10 years has just not recruited the Fort Bend area as well as it should have. Interesting, 2 kids from Hightower and 1 from Fort Bend Marshall. Cade Phillips and Michael Amy at Hightower, and then Caleb Chester over at Fort Bend Marshall, which is just putting out prospect after prospect of late. All right, let's move on to the athlete category. A couple of my favorites are in this one. First, I want to mention Swade Griffin. Swade is the son of a friend of ours, Cedric Griffin, the former Longhorn national title winning cornerback, played almost 10 years in the NFL. Cedric's son, Swade, is one of the state's top hurdlers, plays a number of different positions for Lago Vista. Then you have Demetrius Brisbane out of Chapel Hill. He's currently committed to SMU. But tell us a little bit about Michael Terry, because he's like a do-it-all athlete out of Alamo Heights.
Yeah, he's a guy who always has the ball in his hands, is always impactful at a number of positions, wide receiver, safety, corner, takes snaps out of the backfield as well. He's someone that, as you said, can do it all. I'll be interested to see where Michael Terry projects. I actually think he's a better wide receiver than anything else. Very impactful, great hands right there, down there for Alamo Heights. I actually got to watch him last year in the state playoffs. All-around player. Big-time football player by the definition of it. I'll be eager to see just where Texas projects him at the next level, but I'm excited to see him back on campus, and hopefully he's one that leaves with an offer whenever he departs campus this weekend.
All right, before we get that's all total, I think, what was that, almost 55 or 58 total guys that are 2025s that are coming in, I believe. That list may grow over the next couple of days. Absolutely. So we're not going to put an exact number on it, CJ, but clearly the Longhorns setting up for a big junior day. But it's not just a junior day. They're also bringing some underclassmen in that we need to mention. But before I do that, I want to say thanks again to Mark Saunders, the Texas All-State agent. He's got everything you need when it comes to protecting all of your stuff from your home, car, boat, motorcycle, RV, ATV, you name it. He can help you. Are you in good hands? With more than 35 years of experience, you will be with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Give him a call, 512-218-8571. That's Mark Saunders, 512-218-8571. Thanks, Mark, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football. All right, CJ, I've got a list here of 15. We got a list of 15 names so far. That may change by the hour. But a couple of names I want to mention to you here are the two running backs from East Texas. It looks like Texas is prioritizing East Texas a little more, not just in this past play, or not just in this most recent one that we saw, but as a go forward. You agree with that?
I do think Texas is starting to make deeper inroads in the East Texas area. You know, that's something that is very important to owning the state of Texas, as we've talked about, because East Texas seemingly produces a top, 3 or 5 athlete in the state every single year, on top of the deeper talent that, kind of squeaks out towards Arkansas. I know Louisiana gets involved in that area as well. Oklahoma as well, if you talk about the Carthages and everybody along the lines of that in that area. It's a place that, Texas has had success in the past, but not necessarily a stronghold as you would talk about a DFW this past cycle specifically. So I'm very encouraged to see this group kind of grow in the East Texas facility. And I mean, you're talking about KJ Edwards and Tredarian Bell at that running back spot right now, two of the top running backs in the entire state, regardless of classification, and two guys that are very familiar with coming down to Texas. Tashard Choice has done a tremendous job of doing early evaluation and finding guys early on in the cycle to come in and be recruited by the Texas Longhorns. And it's no secret. He's really good at what he does when it comes to evaluating and recruiting. So very eager to see how these recruitments and relationships start to develop as Texas progresses in these recruitments.
What do you know about Will Griffin, quarterback out of Tampa?
Yeah, 6'3", about 215. Good build, great build. He's someone that on paper right now kind of looks just like an Arch Manning would in terms of physical stature. Good athlete as well, very lively arm out of Tampa. He's at a Jesuit school, so he's getting good coaching, good training down there in Tampa as well. So I'm very encouraged to see what Texas does. It's interesting to see Texas bring in. I believe he's only one of 2 quarterbacks coming in for this weekend. The other is a 2027 that we'll get to in a minute. But right now, Texas is being very precise in their approach to recruiting quarterbacks, and that's not been something out of the ordinary with Steve Sarkisian, making sure that those quarterbacks feel that they are the number one priority in that class.
I think it's interesting. You said Jesuit school, but really it's the private school aspect that makes sure that a lot of these guys have some good resources that maybe they don't have at other schools. It's very, very interesting there. All right. The other guy I want to mention that I think is just a fantastic player is John Turntine, the big offensive lineman out of North Crowley. If he's not one of the best players in the state of Texas, I'm not sure who is. Just absolutely tremendous, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's been a name that's been tossed around as best overall prospect in the entire state, regardless of classification. And if that doesn't get you excited, I'm not sure what will. But he's coming down to campus as well from the same high school as Samaje Burrell. So Texas does have some inroads to North Crowley as well. That'll be something to monitor and watch. But John Turntine is someone that I've heard a lot of tremendous things about in terms of where he projects in a few years. Obviously, we're already talking about him right now as a sophomore, coming out of his sophomore season as a guy who could compete and be in that conversation for the best all-around player in the state of Texas.
All right, let's flip forward. Just a few prospects coming in 2027. You mentioned the quarterback out of Shreveport, Louisiana, Peyton Houston, running back Jordan Smith out of Groesbeck, another East Texas prospect. But let's focus on the wide receiver out of DeSoto, Boobie Feaster, who we think may be, again, one of those guys that may be one of the best prospects in the state, regardless of class.
Yeah, it's not often that you see true freshmen, infiltrate the lineup at DeSoto and have big roles. That's what exactly Boobie Feaster did. Great height, great size, great length, but that's not what makes him a special talent. It's the speed. It's a guy who has already clocked about a 10.6, 10.7 in the 100-meter as a true freshman in high school. Incredible speed, incredible burst. I was able to watch him earlier this year against Allen, making his first career reception as a DeSoto Eagle. He was someone that we obviously knew coming in after earning some offers as an 8th grader. But watching him and being able to see him very early on in his high school career is very encouraging because he's, again, a guy that will make big-time national headways during his recruitment because of his speed. You just simply cannot teach it.
Yep. Interesting. So that's 77 total that we have on our list right now. That could grow clearly by Friday, Saturday when these guys show up. Just a tremendous job, though, in my opinion, of Texas getting all these guys on campus. Before we let you go, I do want to follow back up on something I said on the portal and make a correction or an addition. We're also waiting on Jabbar Muhammad, the defensive back out of Washington. Washington was originally at Oklahoma State. He's from DeSoto. Went to Oklahoma State, transferred to Washington last year, came back, and once Kalen DeBoer decided to go to Alabama, he put his name in the transfer portal, wanted to get closer to home was the thought. Texas, clearly a potential here, but Oregon is making a big play as well. The Ducks right now, I think, having a little bit of a lead, but he will be visiting Austin here in the coming days as well. So keep that one online. We're going to be following that recruitment as well. Okay, I hope that gives you a great overview of the junior day coming up, gives you an overview of what's going on in the portal as well with the latest information we have. All right, for CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been this episode of On Texas Football. Hook 'em.